Hey guys, how's it going and welcome back. So, welcome to the Ultimate Tone Test. This is where I'm going to take three completely different amplifiers and one guitar, and we're going to see what their difference is between them. Now, two of these amplifiers, my HT5 tube amp has a 1x10 cabinet, and the Orange 35 RT, which has got 30 watts more, also has a 10-inch speaker in it. Now, of course, we do have the Vox DA15, which is our last one in the row. It has an 8-inch speaker. Now, when it comes to speaker size, it does make a difference, obviously. Also, the wattage of the amplifier, how much power is required to actually fire up that speaker. And when we're talking about fire up, we're not necessarily talking about getting any kind of noise out. We're talking about getting it to actually perform and do something for us. Okay? So you don't use a 100-watt speaker on a 5-watt amplifier or a 30-watt amplifier. You use a 100-watt speaker generally on amplifiers that have at least 50 watts to 75 watts. You never want to go to the maximum of the speaker itself, because then you just get a lot of breakup and you can definitely damage the speaker when you're maxing it out with 100 by 100, okay? So that's kind of where, you know, they usually say, okay, well, you should have a 25-watt speaker for amplifiers that are between 5 and 15 watts. This way you've got lots of headroom left over. The speaker's going to stay as clean as it's going to get, you know, with your amp, of course, because your amp is still going to have a clipping spot as well. And most amplifiers clip around 2 o'clock on the dial. They start to actually clip and have a breakup to them. But some amplifiers can actually do it a little sooner. Kind of depends on the amplifier, okay? But once that clipping does start, that's where the breakup happens. That's where natural overdrive or distortion will start kicking in, because you've pretty much used up the amplifier at that point. Kind of unfair when you think about it, when the dial goes from 1 to 10, but hey, it is what it is. It's always been that way, even in home stereo equipment. So, let's get on with the test. So we're using a newest series version Affinity Telecaster, traditional setup, of course, with single coils. I thought this would be the best guitar to use because single coils do have a lot lower output than humbuckers do, and even at the same volume levels, which these are all as identical as I can possibly get things, a humbucker will actually make the amp appear to be a lot louder because the pickups are going to be higher output. But there are even higher output single coil pickups which can kind of do the same thing. It puts more to the front end of your amp to push things harder. It's kind of like a pedal board, right? If you have a pedal board that has a preamp in it, you can push more through and not have to have the volume so loud on the amp either. So, you know, anyways, let's do this. So we're going to start with the Blackstar, and we've got all the amps, by the way, all have a touch of reverb on them because I did buy a reverb pedal for the Blackstar. As well as all the EQs are all at 12 o'clock, bass, mids, and trebles. We have overdrive on the Blackstar. We have dirty on the Orange, and it's set accordingly. And so is the gain set accordingly on the DA to be as matched as I can possibly get them. So anyways, let's do this. So we'll start with the clean stuff. And we'll go clean, dirty, clean, dirty, clean, dirty, okay? Now, the cab is sitting underneath the Vox amp over here for the HT5 head, so it doesn't really matter. It's just, at least it's directed at the camera better. Okay, so that is our clean tones. Now let's go to the dirty side, or overdriven side. We'll start the bridge pickup again. still getting used to the Tele, by the way. It's a pretty thin neck and really sick low action. Alright, so next amplifier, our Orange 35 RT. Of course, we start out clean. Throw some dirt in there. I've also totally bypassed the rack tuner, so it's not even involved in the amp. And of course, running a chord, the purists will be happy. Forgot what I was doing next. Okay, fair enough. And last but not least, our Vox. Now, the Vox is a modeling amp, but I have bypassed all the modeling stuff in it, and I've just left reverb on a little bit, and of course we're going to start with its cleanest tone that it can generate. Then we're going to go to one of the dirt channels on it. So. Alright, let's get some dirt. So, now, I'm not going to give you my opinions, okay, as far as which amp I like this thing on the best with. I will say this, I really don't like the bridge position on the Blackstar with this particular guitar. The middle and neck are fine, okay, but, you know, it varies, you know, like every amp's going to be different. An amplifier has a voice of its own that's put into it, right? We have different pots, we have different range of those pots for bass, mid, treble, volume, dirty, all that stuff, right? We have different power sources, different wattage capabilities, different dB level capabilities, which changes and alters tone, you know. Now, we don't have two 10-inch speakers that are the exact same speaker, which is fine. The point is we do have two amplifiers that both have 10-inch speakers, and all the settings on the amps are the same. So yeah, you would think that even with two 10-inch cabs worth of two 10-inch speakers should sound at least relatively close to each other, but they actually don't. So the speaker does control your tone a lot, okay? But so does the amplifier and how much wattage it can produce, how much dB level it produces at said volumes, because they're all going to be different. Okay, if you had a dB meter in here to test each one of these amps at each volume level, right, you would find that one's going to put out more dB than the other. And of course, the weakest link in the whole batch is definitely going to be the Blackstar. Okay, now currently the Blackstar is only putting out 2.5 watts out of 5 because its 10-inch cab has a 16 ohm speaker. Now I have ordered an 8 ohm speaker for it. Okay, so when that comes in, we're actually going to do a shootout between the factory speaker that comes with the Blackstar cab at 16 ohm and the new one that I ordered, which is an 8 ohm 10-inch. Now they should, as far as I know, be rated for the same amount of wattage capability. That we're going to have to see if we can actually get that information or not. But the new speaker is actually a Jensen with a ceramic magnet on it, and it's rated for 25 watts, which is actually right in the ballpark of where you want to be with a 5-watt amp. Okay, but anyways, so you guys be the judge yourselves, but I'm going to tell you this. When it comes to pickups, yes, there are differences in the output capability of the pickups, right? That is definitely there, okay? When it comes to the fact that, oh, they generate this or that, well, it depends upon your setup how they're going to actually produce the signal, how clean that signal is, how dirty it's going to be. Even on the bridge, right? Your bridge should be really clean, right? Should be very bitey, right? In comparison. But the higher you have your pickups, the more output you're going to get even out of a weaker pickup, right? But the more chance you have at breakup at even not so high of volumes because it's so close, right? Then of course the lower your pickups are, of course you have much less output, which is very common among single coils period to have less output than humbuckers, right? So, but you can get higher output single coils, but you're still not going to get that humbucker sound. That's the thing, right? Humbucker's a humbucker, single's a single. Kind of like a lot of people, you know, you go between the bridge and the middle position on a Strat, that kind of simulates a humbucker. Well, yes and no. The amount of space gap between those two pickups is enough that it can kind of, sort of, maybe almost sound similar to a humbucker, but it kind of doesn't cut the rug either because the distance of where they are from each other is such a large span that they can't be concentrated in the exact same precise area. Where a set of humbuckers is right, both single coils of a humbucker are side by side. It's also how things are wired too. But anyways, hope you enjoyed this video and the testing we've done. Hopefully it also gives you a little bit more further reinforcement that when it comes to the whole tone thing, it's not your friggin' fingers, okay? You know, the amplifier and the speaker and the cabinet in which they're in, that has got more to do with tone than any other aspect, okay? Your guitar has very little influence, but it does have some. You know, string height is a part of how things are going to react. The pickups, angles if any, heights definitely, is going to affect the sound. If I adjust these pickups, I'm going to get a whole different sound out of all of these amps because I've adjusted the pickups in whatever way I have. I'm definitely going to change how things are going to sound through here. So before replacing your pickups, like I told a guy on Facebook the other day who's having an issue, he says his Les Paul sounds like a cheap Ibanez. Well, I told him try a bunch of different amps, you know, and if I remember correctly, all he came back with was that he had tried different settings and whatnot, tried adjusting the pickups. That's not working for him either, and the pickups still sound like a cheap Ibanez. Now, I have no idea what pickups he's got in his guitar, but I mean, I've had a lot of Les Pauls in the Epiphone range. I have one Gibson Les Paul, and none of them sound even anywhere close to any kind of an Ibanez, even a crappy one. So I don't know what the guy's got for gear, but I can tell you this, that even I do not like the sound of this Tele with these pickups, on the bridge position at least, on the Blackstar tube amp. It just doesn't work for me. It's too much bite, too much shrill. Okay? So, and of course the distortion on it, or the overdrive within the amp, is not the greatest with these pickups, right? I really not too thrilled. Whereas other guitars I have do much better with the Blackstar, okay? Just the same as the Vox. It does really well in most cases, but I don't like the neck pickup on the Tele on the Vox. It's too mudded, it's too gross, right? So that's kind of what I hear, and if I hear something I don't like, well, I guess I need another amp where I could actually use the neck pickup, which works out great for the Orange or for the Blackstar. I get a really good tone out of middle and neck. Fine, no problem, right? So this sort of stuff is why, you know, sometimes we actually do need more amps than just one or two. I have 6, and I still don't have enough to cover all my tonal ranges of my guitars. And my primary guitars, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, we have Telecaster, traditional setup, of course, obviously with pickups, traditional setup Strat, a Gibson Les Paul, and SG Pro 400. Okay, these are my main guitars for generating music with, okay? And even though I still have a left-handed Kramer Pacer Classic, it's more for like 80s hair metal stuff, because that's where those pickups are set up and designed to work as, right? And you've got the Floyd on there with the tremolo that's full floater and all this. But my main guitars are Strat, Tele, and Les Paul and SG, right? And they're all different, right? And so I have to pick and choose, okay, am I going to go for this tone? Well, I'm going to need this amp, or maybe I need this one, or maybe I need the Blackstar for all the neck positions. Who knows, right? It kind of varies on what kind of piece of music I'm trying to do, what effects I'm throwing at them, etc., right? And these are things to consider, right? So where is the tone really coming from? Well, it is coming from your speaker, the size of the speaker, the cabinet, and of course that amplifier. How much wattage it has determines your headroom, even for staying clean or having good clean dirties as well. You know, because there's dirty that's gross, and then there's clean dirty that's very appealing, right? It's how you perceive sound of what you're after, right? We all have our preferences. We still have 2 other amps we could go through, but we don't need to. I thought I'd take the 3 monsters to begin with, and would work with those, and that should be more than enough with 3 different amps and 1 guitar. And of course I chose this one because I'm still too friggin' addicted to it. It's very hard for me to put this guitar down. I still can't believe how well they've done the new Affinities, especially with the low action, the nice neck on it. It's an amazing piece of gear. But anyways, that's all I got for you. So let me know what you thought in the comments below, and we'll definitely get you guys on the next video. So see ya.